Hello everyone, this is Josh at Tryin' Tech, and today we're going to be going over early performance on the AetherSX2 PS2 emulator for Android, which is a Android emulator based off PCSX2, which has largely been basically kind of the gold standard for PS2 emulators. So if you followed anything about Android emulation when it comes to PS2, typically in the past, before the release of this emulator, it's been one of two things. Either, it's been an accurate open source emulator that's been largely really terrible in performance, which was Play2, or you've had some emulators that, although they perform very well, they did it through a couple kind of cheap methods, doing frame skip hacks and things like that, and then on top of that, DamonPS2, which while it performed very well, that emulator was not open source, it was not free, it was proprietary, and then you had to pay a fee to get largely almost all, if not all of the features that really were any use for the emulator. You had to get the paid version, and then on top of that there was this kind of draconian DRM check, where you had to be always online, no matter what, and if you went offline it would disconnect you from the emulator, and it checked every time you load a game. The free version basically would play an ad every time you loaded a game, and then even if you went back into the settings to change something in the settings, you had to watch another ad. So to get all the ads removed, you had to pay like $10. I remember paying $10 for it, and it's just not really an ideal situation for any emulator. On top of that, like I said, it wasn't open source, wasn't free. And then, honestly, I don't even mind if the emulator was paid, but just make me pay for it once, and then don't check every time I go to play a game, because I've already paid for the app, and then you're making me pay. Well, not pay even more, but if I was offline, I couldn't play anything. Okay, this emulator is currently in beta, which actually this said it was an alpha build. But it is free. It is open source from what I'm aware of, which is always good when it comes to the dev community. So if someone wanted to take this emulator and then make their own build off of it, they could take the code, and then as long as they credited the developer, they could, in theory, make their own version of the emulator. Okay, but on top of that, the performance for this emulator, for what's an alpha build according to this, is really amazing. And so far, if this is what the alpha build looks like, I can't wait to see the final build of this emulator, because it's already, I've gotten almost every game really able to load. Only a few games have had some sort of graphical glitches. There's a lot with audio glitches, and then but overall the performance has been really good. It's been just as good, if not better, than DamonPS2. And then no online check, it's free. The fixes and the settings actually do something. So if you change settings on something here, there's a good chance it can correct most of the graphical glitches. All right, not all of them, but most of them, which DamonPS2 suffered from. If you upscaled anything and there was any full motion videos or 2D textures or sprites, it would be glitchy. So anyways, that being said, we're going to go into the settings. I'm going to show you what my settings are. These are recommended settings. A lot of these are recommended by the dev. And then everything else, you can change it as needed. So some of these settings will be enabled if you enable it in safe or best mode, the recommended settings. But here in general, enable frame limit. You typically want to do this, otherwise it runs too fast. Enable game fixes, so if there's already compatibility settings, it'll automatically apply them. fast boot, that just skips the PS2 BIOS boot screen. And then enable patch codes. Okay, so that actually enables user provided patch codes. So if you are providing your own patch, then you want to enable patch codes. Screen orientation, that's just device setting. All right. Now these are the ones that are really important. So I can't explain to you why underclocking makes it run faster, but it does. And the dev recommends that you put this at a negative value. Okay, I have mine at -3. And then you want to put it, the cycle skip underclocking at a positive value. So just recommended, whether you do, I have mine at -3, you can do -2, -1. All right, but you want this at a negative value, and then you want this at a positive value, and I have it at the same value. Okay, so I have -3 and then +3. So if you're going to have -1, then you want to have +1, so on and so forth. Okay. Make sure you have enabled multi-threaded VUI and that VU1. Okay, that's going to give a sizable speed boost. All right, and then this is all enabled. If FastMem is not already enabled, make sure to enable that. And then I recommend enabling Affinity Control. What that does is that puts the heaviest emulation load on your fastest cores, okay, or it tries to. All right. Some games that you may have some stability issues. Again, if you have the automatically enable pre-configured fixes, some of that might get disabled. Okay. All right, graphics. If you're using Snapdragon CPU, Adreno CPU, sorry, we're having some focusing issues. My autofocus is acting up. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So if you're using Snapdragon, Adreno GPUs, it's recommended to use Vulkan. So unless you got maybe Mali GPU. But most of your typical Snapdragon processors you're going to use the Vulkan. I have mine upscaled 2x native, so the native is 480p. So if you upscale it by 2, what that's going to do is now render at 960p. All right. Some games that provide some sort of improvement, but not always. Okay. So it won't always improve the image, but for most of your 3D images, it's going to improve the image. All right. I have aspect ratio of 16:9. You can put this on the original native 4:3, 16:9 stretch. All right. Now, if you're going to put it on 16:9 or stretch and you're using it on a widescreen, you want to enable the widescreen patches. And what that's going to do is there's already pre-made widescreen patches that convert it from the standard 4:3 aspect ratio and adapt the image to make it look better so it doesn't look all stretched out. Okay, so that's what I've set, and there's a number of patches that get just automatically downloaded or loaded. Okay, bilinear upscaling. Okay, I had that enabled. This one, it's personal preference. If you want to smooth it out, sometimes the FXA shader, the post-processing, can make games look worse. Some of the games, it makes them look better. It's a post-processing effect, kind of softens out the kind of jaggy edges. Okay, on-screen display. This just shows error messages, things like that. I have that enabled because we're testing here. Show the video PS or FPS. Okay, show speed. I don't show the resolution, but if I wanted to enable that, I could. Like I said, this already shows that we're rendering at 2x native. All right, this is already enabled. I did enable the GPU palette conversion. What that does is offload textures to the GPU instead of the CPU. All right, if you have a strong GPU chipset like Snapdragon, Adrenos, then it's going to usually 9 times out of 10 give you a speed up. But if you have kind of a weak GPU and your CPU side's more powerful, I'd probably not enable that. And then preload textures, basically it'll load textures prior, and that can improve performance. All right. All All right, advanced. So you want these all enabled, okay, if they're not already. And then this should be enabled. Not sure whether this makes a big deal. Accurate date, I'm not. Now, okay, for upscaling hacks, you will have to enable this if you're doing anything other than 1x rendering, which I have mine on 2x rendering, so I enabled the upscaling hacks. But if you don't have it enabled, guess what? It won't show up. So I disable it and all those options disappear. But the upscaling hacks, I enabled align sprite, and what that does is fixes the vertical lines that happen in any games that have like full motion video, 2D sprites. It doesn't work on every single game, but it fixes a lot. I was actually surprised how many games it actually fixed, which is a great improvement over DamonPS2. DamonPS2, you would enable the vertical lines fix, and I forgot what they called it in there, but there was supposedly some fixes that fixed this issue, and it didn't do anything. In fact, most of the settings in DamonPS2, you would change them and it wouldn't affect anything. It wouldn't fix image quality. It wouldn't make it run any faster. It wouldn't do anything, no matter what you did. All right, so that was one of the main kind of knocks I had on DamonPS2, other than like the DRM and the draconian kind of measures that they had. And I don't have an issue with devs getting paid, but if I pay for your app, like, don't lock down your app. Like, I'm paying to unlock the app, so don't lock down the app. All right. And I don't know. This isn't a beta. Maybe later on the dev will make a change and decide he's gonna All right. So I'm gonna go ahead for this graphics driver. I'm gonna enable this for Vulkan. Can improve in performance in GS bottleneck games at the cost of worse frame pacing. If it causes issues with frame pacing, then I'll probably disable it, but I'm going to go ahead just for the sake of this video. But typically I don't have this enabled, okay? And honestly, most of the games have loaded pretty well. I'm wondering maybe if I enable that, maybe that'll help with like Suikoden Tactics, because Suikoden Tactics in map really slows down. But other than that, like, most of these games I've played or tried have worked really well. Some of them have audio glitches and some of them have graphical glitches, okay? I'll talk about some of those. I'm not going to talk about every single issue. I haven't played these games like all the way through to the end, so I can't tell you like, oh yeah, this is totally playable. That's not what this is about. This is to show you early performance of this emulator within the app. Okay, so now that we're done going through settings, without any further ado, we're going to actually go into the games, okay? So I have my games here. You can download album covers for these, disc covers. One thing I did like about DamonPS2 was that it had a database that it was linked to, and it already would like just automatically fetch the disc covers. I would like if that's later on added, but for me right now, this is not like a deal-breaking feature. If you want to, what you can do is you can go back and download them, but it's not done automatically. And you can download them and then you can load them off of your device, but it won't do it automatically, okay? So that being said, let's go ahead and get into the actual gameplay. I have Castlevania, Lament of Innocence, Chaos Wars, GrimGrimoire, Growlanser, Pucelle Tactics. Now I had filmed this prior, so I've tested all of these games, and then I just recently tested Castlevania, Lament of Innocence, so I know all these games are working. Some of them may have some like audio issues, but we're going to go ahead and start out with Castlevania Lament of Innocence. Okay, so you see a little message there, said disabling FPU full mode on ARM64, and then it's telling me that there's widescreen patches for this game. Now, I've got the native HUD here.
In an era long past, as monarchies weakened, local feudal lords grew in power. The first knights simply protected.
Okay, so I played that earlier, and there was no issues with any of the sound on that full motion video, nor any graphical issues. So this is playing at 60 FPS. If you can't see there, look down here and you should be able to see. This is something with the Samsung tablets. They have a game booster, and then they have like shows kind of metrics, FPS, CPU usage. Okay. This is actually showing sample gameplay. But this is like pre-rendered. Okay. But right now it's showing 60 FPS, CPUs at 13 to 20%, GPUs at 26%, and temps are good. And I'm only using 33% of my RAM, which is good. It's not using a lot of RAM. Actually, come to think of it, I had a save state loaded for this, so we're gonna load the save state. I've done load states and save states on all of these games, and you know, on a lot of emulators, it'll kind of provide some stability issues, but it hasn't for me. Haven't had any issues. So this looks slow, but it's actually it is indeed rendering at 60 FPS. I think it's just the animation frames. But both here and here, it is showing definitely 60 FPS. It does look slow though. A lot slower than what it was showing like in that sample video. So the videos look a little rough. That's because they're already pre-rendered. So no matter upscaling,
Sarah,
nothing, it won't make a difference. But
I'm coming to save you.
the audio is good. I haven't heard any kind of skipping or anything like that. No audio sync issues. I remember playing this game like when I first got a PS2, and it's absolutely amazing. Love this game. Okay, so this is actually moving a lot quicker now. Yeah, that definitely looks 60 FPS to me. Like, it doesn't look like I'm like running through molasses. Okay. No. Yeah, this is all playing like very smooth. I don't know why it showed it was playing 60 FPS, but I don't know why. But right now, this is definitely very smooth. Lowest I see it going is 59. Yeah. This was I want to say this was, other than Castlevania 64, this was the first Castlevania game to like really make the leap to 3D. No, it was. Yeah, it was. Before even the games that were 3D, they were, 2.5D. So there's a little bit of like texture issues with the panels. Other than that, like, I don't know, it's just, there's this kind of weird wrapping with the textures. Okay. So I'm going to stop there. But as you can see, that was very, very playable, very smooth. It was kind of weird how initially it kind of looked like I was moving through molasses. Even though it showed I was definitely playing at 60 FPS. So, interesting. Okay, so the next one we're going to go to is Chaos Wars. This is a tactics RPG made by ID Factory. I'd like to say it's kind of a knockoff of Disgaea. This came out like I don't know if this came out before or after Disgaea, but it came out like around the time Disgaea was popular. It plays like Final Fantasy Tactics, but not near as good. But it's a decent game. Okay, so as you can hear, there's kind of these audio glitches, and I've tried everything and I can't fix it. And it's just that opening FMV. None of the other FMVs or anything else has any sort of audio skips. Just that part. So I'm not really sure why. Okay. This one I had a save state for it as well. So we're going to load state. Actually, I'd like to say this plays a lot more like Phantom Brave than Final Fantasy Tactics because it's not grid-based. You have a movement range and then you move around. So it plays more like Phantom Brave. Now you'll see on one of these characters, sometimes there's these like intermittent... Yeah, see, like, there's this, like, kind of weird graphical glitch. But this is playing at 60 FPS, playing perfectly smooth. Okay, all she can do is heal. And like most IdeaSoft games, like not IdeaSoft. Idea Factory games. I often don't know what I'm doing. I just play them, but okay. Alright, so you get the gist. Alright, like, pretty straightforward. This is not a really demanding game. The environments are 3D, and then they're painted over 2D textures, but the sprites themselves, they're like... So, I'm gonna save state on that one. But yeah, that's 2D textures. It's a pretty non-demanding game. So I'm going to test some, and some of these are 3D, and then some of them are 2D. Of course, 2D games tend to work better. Alright, so Chaos Wars. That one worked well. Now we're going to try GrimGrimoire. This game was made by Vanillaware. Gosh, man. Okay, there we go. This autofocus is killing me. I apologize for this. So I'll play some of this initial video just because, like, when you see these widescreen hacks that they did for this one, it works really well. There's a little bit of, like, kind of like scaling issues with the way it displays with the screen, but overall, whoever did this widescreen hack, but the video on this is just amazing. The sound is amazing. I'll let you listen to it and watch it for a little bit, but it looks really good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. And I was going to load a game, but I actually already have a save state for this, and we're gonna go to the save state. Did that not load? Oh gosh, no. My dumbass. No, I screwed that up. I put save state instead of load state, so we're going to start at the beginning of the tutorial. Oh well. So this game, the best way I can describe it is a mix between a 2D Japanese RPG and a tower defense game. It's like a real-time strategy / tower defense.
Surrounded by mana, you must learn,
and everything's drawn in 2D, so...
And at the same time, a magician must train oneself to use it correctly. Magic.
Okay, so I'm gonna skip that, but I just want to show you, like, just how good that looks. Especially with the art, the hand-drawn sprites. There's no issues with, like, I didn't see any, like, upscaling issues. Like, I'm running 2x.
Because of their diligence.
Alright, so we're gonna skip this.
Teacher, here I go. Okay.
Sometimes you see, like, a little bit of kind of text wrapping issues. This part's kind of boring, but it does definitely get more interesting later on. This is just a tutorial. Alright, so this is all playing at...
You want something? I'll do my best.
It's all playing at 60 FPS. This part's kind of boring. Anyways. But yeah, it's just a tutorial. But it's playing perfectly, no problems. No graphical glitches. Widescreen hacks look great. And... okay, so now I'm going to save this save state again and not screw it up. Alright, and we're going to exit out of that game. Alright, but that game plays wonderfully. The sound was working perfectly. I would say, I would be very surprised if this game is not fully playable. I'd have to test it more and play all the way through for me to say it's fully playable. Alright, that's like, emulation standards is like, you can play it from like start to finish with no graphical or audio glitches. Yep, that's fully playable. Alright, so we're going to go to Growlanser, Heritage of War. This is another strategy game, RPG. In case you can't tell, favorite games from this era is like a lot of RPGs and strategy games. I don't know, it was like an era. Alright, so... oh, I'm going to play this full motion video. It sounds like there's like a little bit of audio skipping, but overall it plays perfectly. can't really tell if it's just the soundtrack or it's like actually skipping. If it is, it's very minor. Very old school anime art style on this game. You like Record of Lodos vibes here. I think this was based off an old anime. Alright, so I'm not gonna load my I have a save state. I'm gonna load it. There we go. Alright, 60 FPS. This appears to be moving very quickly. Okay, so you see this little kind of... This is from the upscaling. And in this case, the vertical line fix doesn't work. Because back in the... leave me alone, I'm going to sound like a boomer here. But back in the olden days, right? Back in the old days, right? 2D textures, they'd have this texture... And that was its own texture. And then this part for the mouth, for the talking, was animated separately. But it would blend in. And at 480p, or the native resolution, you would never notice it, right? But all they would move is that little square. Oh, I can save. And then the rest would stay static. Buy items. And buy like 3 of those. Stay safe, homie. Alright. So this is all playing very smooth. I'm going to show you like a little bit of battle. But this all happens like in semi-real time. It's like a mix.
Say your prayers, Ice. Don't get in my way.
It's like a mix of real-time strategy and
find a way to stop the war.
And like a 3D RPG. Like it has almost like its own version of
Slimes?
the active time battle system.
He's still alive. I can't let those slimes fit. Next.
Yeah, so like you pick what you're gonna do, and then it'll just start attacking. And if you want it to do something else, but it's a strategy game, but it's not grid based. Wounded man dies. Celsius dies. Okay. So then you move around the map.
You still want more?
And then you'll enter battle. But if you want it to do something else.
Now, what should I do? Next.
Oh.
Next. Next. Now, what should I do?
Yeah, so you give commands and then it'll just start attacking. Okay. And this just tells me about defending, which I was doing earlier.
Next.
What's happening? Zeldas?
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save state it there. We're going to save state. We're going to override it. Okay. Anyways, everything was playing good. Little minor graphical glitches. That's more from the upscaling. And unfortunately, because of the way that's animated, it doesn't really fix that little... But it's not really noticeable. It's very, very minor. Alright. And then... last one we're going to play is Pucelle Tactics. And I remember I told you Chaos Wars was like a generic knockoff of Disgaea. Well... this game actually came before Disgaea, and this is like the spiritual predecessor to Disgaea, which, other than Final Fantasy Tactics, if I was gonna like say another kind of one of the best kind of 3D tactics RPG series, would probably be Disgaea. And you know what? Until Square Enix comes up with a proper sequel for Final Fantasy Tactics, that's going to be my 2 cents. Okay, so the full motion video looks good. No sound glitches. Looks good. Scantily clad demon goddess. Okay. This game is what came before Disgaea, and it's weird. It's weird in the respect that it definitely plays like Disgaea, but it also plays a little bit like Fire Emblem. Okay? Granted, I think Fire Emblem is the better game, obviously, but this was kind of like where NIS was like kind of experimenting with this stuff. This is what came before Disgaea, and then Disgaea came, and it was kind of like a sleeper underground hit, and then the rest of the games, I mean, they're niche, but they became like really popular. Is there a way to skip this tutorial? I probably shouldn't, because I've only played this game a little bit, and I definitely don't know like how to do this purification. Okay. Oh, these are like geo panels, but they don't call them geo panels. They call them purification panels. Okay. But you can see a lot of the systems in this game kind of became what established the systems for Disgaea. If you played that game, you play this game and it's like, oh, you can see where a lot of the systems kind of came from. But this, like, I haven't played a lot of this game, but this game in and of itself is a good game. I hope they do a remaster of this like they did with Phantom Brave, and recently finally did a remaster of Soul Nomad, so I hope that NIS remasters this with Makai Kingdom and releases that in a 2-in-1. Kind of like they did with the Volume 1 of the Prinny Greatest Hits collection. Gosh, man. Unskippable tutorials. Not a fan. This game like never took off with the great appeal. Alright, so now that we're past the tutorial, alright, that I totally... Okay. Oh, I see. That's why. Do I gotta purify? Okay, so this is all working pretty fine. I have no idea what I'm doing on this. Hopefully I don't get killed. But you see it goes like 2D, a lot like Fire Emblem. I might die. Okay. I don't know if I want to fight them like this. Oh. Okay. Oh. Okay. I'm gonna do an attack and then I'm probably gonna just save it. Oh, so the only time it does team attacks, I guess, is if you do like a normal attack. Oh, that's kind of overkill. Okay, so like honestly, seem to be working really well. Alright, no problems on that. No sound issues. Alright, we're going to save state. I'm going to overwrite that. And we're going to exit. Okay. Alright, so that's it for the gameplay. Alright, some of that took a little bit longer than I wanted to. But I just wanted to give you kind of a good idea of the performance. I've also tested like 5 other games on my phone. And those other 5 games all worked really well. Had a couple games like I said, Pucelle Tactics, as some reason is loading really slow in the map. I don't know if there's a way to like fix it to where it plays better. And then Xenosaga, the FMVs had a lot of audio glitching, which is sad because that is probably one of the best RPGs that I never finished. So don't judge me for that, but I never finished those games. But they're amazing games, and the gameplay was working good, but had a lot of really bad audio glitches. And then there's a couple other games that have really bad graphical glitches that make it not unplayable, but almost unplayable. But for what is an alpha build, all right, and if you look at the about show version, okay, this release, it's alpha 10938 alpha 656 release. and then there's the actual build, whatever that means. Okay, but this is, for what is an alpha release, this is amazing. It's like absolutely amazing. The performance is just as good, if not better, than DamonPS2. It doesn't use a lot of the cheap methods that DamonPS2 uses to get by some of the weaknesses that it has and as an emulator. And then on top of that, it's open. I believe it's open source, but right now I don't know if the dev has released that to, other developers, because right now it's still an alpha. But it's free. It's open to the community. The dev, he's let, it started out, it was a closed beta, so he was only letting certain people play. And, but like I said, it's definitely a lot better, just strides better than Play2 PS2 emulator. And it is strides better in the approach that it's taken with the emulator than the DamonPS2 devs. Okay, and I'm not trying to throw shade at DamonPS2. All right, for what it was at the moment, it was a good emulator. But a lot of the settings didn't do anything. Like, you would change settings and it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't improve the visual quality. It wouldn't improve performance. It would do nothing. And then, like I said, as far as emulators go, DamonPS2 is not an accurate emulator. Okay, so yes, you want speed, but you also want a level of accuracy, and you want to strike a good balance between those. Typically, that's the way most devs approach emulators. They want an accurate emulator that emulates as accurately to, like, if you were playing just at native settings, would emulate, accurately to what the original console would. Granted, they also add in, enhancements. You can upscale, things like that. But accuracy is like the number one, like, kind of goal for most emulator devs. And then you want speed and stability after that. Okay, so overall, it's been very stable. I haven't had any games like just outright crash. They load. Maybe some graphical glitches, maybe some audio glitches, maybe playing, not full speed. But I haven't had any games just like outright refuse to load, and I haven't had any games outright crash. All right. So one thing I'm going to do is, if you want to help out the dev and be an open tester, okay, I will be putting the link for the dev's official Discord in the description below. Make sure to check that out. See what the dev in the community is saying about this emulator. There's a link that you can go on for that Discord. It will there's two links. One is for the invite to be a open beta tester, and then the other one just goes straight to the Play Store. But I think that's the only way to bring up the actual app, because if you try to search it, I haven't been able to bring it up while searching it. So do use the, but I think that's because it's in testing. All right. So I'll link the Discord below. Just see what's going on with the, I'd recommend, like, if nothing else, if you're just going to watch and wait and see, definitely subscribe to the Discord, because it will give you all the updates you need for this emulator. And then you can go, if you want to try it out, you can try it out. And then you can help out with the development of this emulator. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give that thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, I'll be sad, but give a thumbs down. But at least leave a comment so I can know what to do. Especially now, because I can't see dislikes. I don't know, YouTube disabled that. That's lame. But if that's their platform, their prerogative, but I can't see dislikes. So if you leave a dislike, make sure to leave a comment, or else I won't even know you dislike the video, much less why you dislike the video. But this is Josh at Tryin' Tech, and I gotta say, I'm super excited about this emulator. I'm super excited about just the possibilities with it, and this is just an early build, and it's already looking really promising, and just what it means, kind of opening up things for emulation for PS2 on Android. super stoked about it. Anyways, make sure if you want to see more content like this, I'm definitely going to be doing some more testing, especially as later builds come out and we see improvements and things like that. As we see major builds and updates come out, I will definitely be doing more testing of this emulator. I've already been enjoying it immensely. And if you want to see more content like that, or just more emulators and tech reviews, things like that, make sure to subscribe below. All right, this is Josh at Tryin' Tech, and y'all have a wonderful time, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.